All right. Should be live now. Should tweet it out. All right. All right, we should be good. We'll see if anybody jumps in here right away. But if you are here right now, or you're just now coming in, welcome to the Steelers post-game show. We are part of Crowworthy and also allsteelers.com, and we are sponsored by Manscaped as well as Keats Barbershops. Shout out to those two guys. We're not going to run this like a regular show. We're not going to record it like a podcast or anything. We're just going to jump on here on YouTube, kind of recap the game versus the Titans, and also look forward to next week's game against the Ravens. We'll have some of you guys jump in here and join us along the way. So, Tyler, what's going on?
Oh, nothing. I just scarfed down some food after that game.
Yeah, I know you normally don't eat during it, especially like with this high pressure game that the second half gave us. I can imagine you weren't really eating during it. So
no, I was literally sitting in my chair. I didn't move the entire time. And that's typically how my Sundays go with Steeler games. I pretty much stay in the same spot, make sure the volume's on the right thing. And I don't move the entire game pretty much until halftime. I might go to the bathroom or something. But yeah, I'm doing a lot better than I was before that last drive with the Tennessee Titans. I was definitely getting nervous, and I pulled out the old reverse psychology tweet. The Steelers are losing this game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I feel like so many people think I'm like actually serious when I tweet that, when I'm really just trying to get the what am I looking for? The superstitions going. Because it works from time to time. You have experience with it working, so that's why I did it. That's the reason
even,
that he missed.
Just as recently as BYU's game against who was it?
Houston.
Houston. Okay.
Yeah, because they were down. BYU was down 26-14, and I was just talking smack on them like every 5 minutes, and then they ended up winning. They scored 29 unanswered points. They ended up winning 43-26. So I was hoping the same little juju would happen in this, and obviously it did. Gostkowski missed it.
Yeah, speaking of Juju, pretty solid game from him today. It looked like the Titans' plan was to eliminate Chase Claypool from the game, and they did a pretty good job of doing that, kind of a non-factor, and that's fine. I mean, that's something that we talked about. You know, let the defense decide who they want to eliminate, and the other guys are going to eat. And Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson, you know, he did go down with a little bit of an injury. I believe he came back into the game. He did come back into the game. So hopefully that's nothing going forward for Deontay Johnson, because the biggest thing for him is just staying on the field. I mean, we saw it again today. When he's on the field, he's an electric player. He gets the ball in his hands. So hopefully he'll be good to go. But yeah, so, you know, the Titans decide that Chase Claypool is going to be the guy that they eliminate. Didn't see much of James Washington either, but it was really Malcolm Butler following around Chase Claypool, and that was fine. You know, the offense kind of going on. Oh, man, my mic was about to fall there.
Oh, boy. Never seen that one before.
The offense humming on all cylinders in the first half. That tide kind of changed in the second half, though, with the Steelers only scoring 3 points in total in the second half. So kind of a tale of two halves, if you will.
There goes the camera. But yeah, I mean, whenever I got on here, I figured if you asked me what were my initial thoughts of the game or anything like that, I was going to say it was a tale of two halves. The first half, the Steelers looked dominant. They looked like they could just run away with this game. And I don't know that the interception at the end of the first half was necessarily like a preamble for what was to come, but it definitely seems like it now that the game's over, because the second half, Steelers really didn't do anything. And Titans were rolling, and I mean, it came down to a field goal to tie the game. And you gotta wonder, like, should the Steelers have gone for the field goal at the end of the first half, been more conservative? I mean, they wouldn't have had that heart attack at the end like we did, but I mean, it ended up working out, so it's whatever. But yeah, the two halves of the game were like polar opposites.
Yeah, you can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just can't
Okay,
see
yeah,
you.
I turned my webcam off for a second because I'm trying to fix my mic stand here. I don't know what happened here. It just like came loose on my table, and I'm trying to tighten it.
Yeah, you mentioned Juju, and Juju had a really nice game, especially on that last drive. I mean, we didn't end up getting points, but just making sure we get first downs and killing more clock. He was very pivotal on that drive, and he ended up with 9 receptions for 85 yards. He had a nice day.
I think we're good now, but I don't know why my webcam still wasn't showing up because I turned it back on.
That's rough, buddy. This is what
you mentioned that. You mentioned the drive where you question like should they have gotten points on the drive right before halftime? Like should they have been just said or no? You mentioned the last drive of the game, right?
Well, I did talk about that drive at the end of the first half where Ben threw the pick in the end zone. I'm like, do you question whether they should have gone for the field goal or played for a field goal, or they should have done the home run ball, which they tried to. But I also mentioned on that last drive, I was talking about how Juju was very pivotal in that drive. He got 3 first downs that drive, and it kept the clock rolling. And I mean, if we don't convert on those first downs, I'm not so sure that the Steelers end up either going to overtime or winning the game, just because the Titans had all the momentum at that point, and they would have had a lot more clock to work with.
Yeah, I think that like that's the thing too. Is do you think maybe because of how Juju was just moving the chains for them that entire drive, that Ben like just keyed in on him, similar to how we would see Ben key in on AB and try to force him the ball, and that's why we saw that interception in the end zone?
Possibly. I think it was just a bad throw. Like not necessarily a bad throw in like the actual like technical throw, but
yeah,
just
it got the
bad
Juju's
decision.
hands.
Yeah, it was. I think it was just a poor decision. There was multiple guys around Juju in that area. And there was multiple interceptions today. Like that one, I would say that one is more caused by the defense, more so than the one that was just tipped up in the air. I mean, that was caused by the defense, but that was just more of a fluke interception. It's not like Ben threw it right to the guy or anything like that, or he make a great play. It just literally fell in that linebacker's hands. But yeah, that one, I could say that he forced it to Juju. That's definitely the guy he was looking to that whole drive. Whether that caused the pick or not, I guess you could say it did, but it was just, I think it was just a poor decision to force it there.
Yeah, I looked at the one right before half more, and Ken, excuse me, who's in the YouTube chat just mentioned as well, felt like they should have been playing for a field goal right before half, and I have to agree. I mean, you got handed that opportunity by that ridiculous, messed up punt situation for the Titans. I think their entire team was illegally downfield after Brett Kern dropped the ball. So I think that you take 3 there and go into the half feeling really good about where the game is at. A 20-point lead would have been at that time. And not to say that, that's the reason that momentum shifted or anything like that. But, it's 3 points that we didn't have that were handed to us, gift wrapped to us, and we pretty much just passed up on. So I looked at that one, honestly, more than the one late in the game. Just because I could see what, I mean, if the Steelers score a touchdown on that drive, that's the ball game. If they put up a field goal, they would have been feeling good, obviously, and they would have been a good situation. But you look at that last drive where Ben threw the interception in the end zone, it's just that would have been the dagger. So I could see why you're going for that there. But it looked like there were far too many situations in this game where I'm just getting so frustrated because there's a first down to be picked up and they just seem to want to take that deep shot. And that goes against what the Steelers have been doing for a lot of this year. Just move the chains. And in the first half of this game, just move the chains. You'll end up scoring points that way. You don't got to take those deep shots. I mean, it's kind of, they went against the grain of what how they built a 5-0 record in this game 6. I mean, Ben came into this game with 1 interception, and he throws 3. Granted, one of them, again, just kind of a Hail Mary at the end of the half, kind of an unfortunate bounce, and then a ball that was tipped, but it was just, he was taking more shots than usual, and they weren't going his way. The Titans were very lucky today with some of these, but the Steelers offense, they just completely got away from what was making them so successful.
Yeah, I don't know who I saw tweet it, but they said, like, Ben was a conservative for the first 5 weeks, and then this week he just said F it and just started throwing the ball all over. But yeah,
it was probably David.
Was it David?
Fired Neil.
Yeah, I think it was him actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you. It just seems like if there's easy first downs to pick up, why don't you get them? You don't have to score on like every play. You can work your way to scoring. So I'm right with you. I think it's easy to pick up first downs, and I agree on that last drive that if you get the touchdown, they end the game. But I think it, not that it's a better decision to kick a field goal or like play for a field goal in that situation, but I mean, if you at least score the field goal, you're forced them to get a touchdown. That's the only thing they can do.
I'm
So,
not sure what Stubbs is talking about here. I'm assuming this is an inside joke that I'm not part of. He just typed 53 cheese balls.
yeah, that's
I'm going to
it.
assume that's something to do with yesterday.
It is, yeah. We saw how many I could fit in my mouth.
Oh, okay. And as far as the defense goes, really nice job in the first half, completely taking Derrick Henry out of the equation. And that's the problem, though, when Tennessee gets back into that game, that one real big play, the A.J. Brown touchdown, at that point, you're letting Derrick Henry come back into the equation of this game. And that's why Tennessee made it a football game and got within 3 and very well could have tied it. We're a missed field goal away from potentially still watching this game right now. So who knows? But overall, I think that, well, I got to give myself a pat on the back, by the way, because the two guys who said were going to be X factors in this game were Deontay Johnson and Cam Sutton, who both played phenomenal today. So the one guy that didn't play phenomenal, and I'm wearing his jersey right now, Minka Fitzpatrick played probably his worst game as a Pittsburgh Steeler. But that's saying something. I think that's more about what his tenure as a Pittsburgh Steeler has looked like.
Right.
Because if this is going to be his worst game, I'll take it because we still came out of it with a W. So hopefully this was his worst game as a Pittsburgh Steeler. But yeah, missed tackles, which has kind of been an issue we've seen going forward. Obviously that holding penalty, which resulted in them getting another opportunity to score a touchdown. At that point, they just handed them 6 because you got inches to go and you got Derrick Henry who can just jump over everybody anyway, which he did. But yeah, so shout out to those two guys, Sutton and Deontay Johnson. Also, huge tip of the cap to Robert Spillane today. A big question mark was going to be about replacing Devin Bush. I mean, that hit where he literally sacrificed himself to make that play on Derrick Henry to hold him out of the end zone for the time being. I mean, I thought that he played really well. Hopefully that shoulder isn't too big of an issue. He was back into the game after. So people were speculating like a broken collarbone or something. That's obviously not the case. Just probably a little bit sore from that high impact collision with a guy like Derrick Henry. So,
yeah, I mean, you got that dude that big running at you, 250 pounds. It's definitely going to be bruising you up after that hit. But yeah, that was very impressive to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you go back and Shane said he was mad today, if you go back and look at the full body of work, and I'm sure that that's the way that the tape's going to look, but from an effort standpoint, he was all in today. He looked like a guy that knew that he was, being given the keys to a very important job. And, he took that in stride and did everything that he could. He laid himself on the line today. So I don't think you could have asked much more from him. We did see Ulysses Gilbert sprinkle in a lot, and that was nice to see. I'm be interested to go back tomorrow and look at the snap counts for guys today. That's something I've been doing on Mondays pretty regularly and tweeting out just things that I found interesting about guys' snap counts, whether they're going up or down. It seemed like Anthony McFarland was on the field a little bit more today as well. Not that he necessarily touched the ball a whole lot, but he was on the field a little bit more, trying to throw him some different looks, something Tennessee hasn't seen. But as we kind of look towards next week against the Ravens, can we just please put 4 quarters of football together? I mean, it's either starting slow or finishing slow with these guys. And I just want to see four quarters of, so it can be somewhere between. You don't have to have as good of a first quarter as they had today, because that was literally the perfect first quarter. Mm-hmm. But you can't be as bad as you were in the second half either.
Yeah, I would say the third quarter was the worst half of football they played today. And I agree with you. Literally the only game that they've had that they haven't really looked like they slowed down at any point in the game was that Cleveland game. So I hope that they carry that instead of what they did today into that Ravens game, because with a team like the Ravens, I mean, it's another team like the Titans where you take your foot off the gas, they're going to burn you. So I agree with you.
You got to put them in a situation where they can't run the ball.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of similar to the way that you want to play the Titans in the first half. They're predominantly, they want to run the ball. You have to shut that down and then force Lamar to win it with his arm. Because, I mean, can he really prove that he's just done that so far? I feel like every time they've won big games, it's always been with the run game.
Right. Okay. I do want to get a couple people in here. I don't know how much time we're gonna be on here, but I would say probably maybe like 3 people we can get in. If you'd be interested in joining, send us a DM on Twitter real quick at around the 412, and we will get you the Zoom info. It's going to be the first 3 people that get in here. We will do so. Make sure to send us a DM real quick, and we will get you in here. In the meantime, so there's not dead air, I guess we can kind of keep talking about about next week. The Ravens on a bye, so there's not really much to go based off of their result this week. But we do know they're a very good football team. We're not breaking any news by saying that. But again, it's a team that we feel like we know how they're successful, why they're successful, and how to make them get away from their game. So I think that if, once again, similar to our last 2 opponents now, when you shut down that run and try to make them a one-dimensional football team, that's going to be your best chance of winning the game. Now, today we saw the Steelers get in that position, but then they took their foot off the gas, and the Titans were able to get back into this football game and get back to what makes them successful with the run and the play action. So it's about shutting down the run and doing it for the entirety of the game and making them pass for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, and maybe I'm crazy, but I am less concerned with stopping the run from the Ravens running backs as I am for this week against Derrick Henry and last week against Kareem Hunt. I'm more concerned about keeping Lamar Jackson in the pocket because when he gets outside and he starts to scramble, that's where he can burn you. So if you make him one-dimensional and make him sit in that pocket, that's where he's going to mess up and make mistakes. I'm honestly not as concerned with their running backs just because I've seen what we've done the past 2 weeks with the running backs that we've gone against. And not that the Ravens running backs are bad at all. They're great. And then they've got 3 really good running backs, but I just feel like if they did what they did today against Derrick Henry, I mean, he had 20 carries, 75 yards, 3.8 a touch. I mean, against Derrick Henry, that's like honestly.
Yeah, he only had 27 at the half too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more you can ask for with a guy like Derrick Henry defending him. So I'm pleased with what the Steelers did against him today. So if they can carry that over, then I'm really excited for this Ravens game.
Yeah, I think when you look at like time of possession, the box score, everything, it's going to look like the Steelers, kind of did everything right. But it's just the fact that they had such a big lead and got away from it, you feel like. And I think you got to give credit to the Titans too. We're kind of discrediting everything with what we're saying about the Steelers. But you got to give credit to the Titans too for crawling back into this game. They made the right second half adjustments. They were the only team that made the second half adjustments. And they put them in a position where they could have won this football game despite trailing the way that they were and having to go away from what made them successful. So I think the Titans deserve a ton of credit for what they were able to do. And I don't think that should be lost in this.
Yeah, dude, AJ Brown is really good. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that he's kind of, I think he always gets forgotten about because he played on the same college team with DK Metcalf, obviously came into the same year, came into the draft the same year and plays in a run first offense. But he's like the perfect fit for that offense though, because of the way that they run the play action and stuff. I think he's a perfect fit there. I think he truly is a wide receiver 1 in this league.
Yeah, I had him in my flex too in one of my fantasy leagues. So good day for me.
All right, we got a couple people in the waiting room. I did have 3 reach out to me already, so we're gonna get those 3 in here. If you weren't one of those 3, just make sure you're one of the first ones next week when we talk about the Ravens game. I think Shane was the first one that got to me, so it'll be Shane and then Kai. Yo,
what's going on, man?
What's going on?
How you doing, man?
Yo, guys.
Hello?
I'm doing really good. I would like for my heart rate to be a little bit lower. Am I not on?
Oh, yeah, we hear you. There was a little bit of a drop right there, but we got you.
Okay, cool. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, I am on
redo this, and it was working me.
I do take some heart medications, so I would like to be able to send that invoice to the Steelers and have them start paying it.
Honest to God, man, between that and then, after, we discussed it a little bit, but that Penn State game yesterday, I was like, I need a win.
Oh, man. Yeah. Had the Titans came back and won this game. What a rough weekend for you.
Oh, man. I don't know if my TV would have lasted. I don't think it would have survived.
Oh, it would have been that video last week with that Cowboys fan. He like threw it. He threw something straight at it, and then when it was on the
I
ground, he
didn't
started
see it.
shooting it, like legitimately shooting it.
Wait, so you're a Penn State fan too?
The camera, record this one. Oh, big Penn State fan. My mom went there, so had no choice. I guess I had a choice because my dad did Pitt, so.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not really that sorry about yesterday.
Yeah, neither one of us are Penn State guys, Shane.
Yeah. I heard it.
But we don't have to talk. We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah,
we got to talk about the Steelers.
I was watching y'all's boy from BYU too.
Yeah, that's my guy.
All right. Yeah. Okay. We can talk about that too.
Yeah. Hold on.
No, but okay. There's obviously a lot of good.
What are y'all thinking?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, this is an actual helmet from the 1980s for BYU. My dad's friend gave it to me. So
nice.
Oh,
is it signed?
No, it's not signed, but yeah. So my mom's roommate married a player on the team, and he gave me his helmet and he gave me his like practice jerseys and all his like stuff like that.
Gotcha. It's pretty dope. Okay. Well, Shane, obviously a lot of good in the first half, a lot of bad in the second half. What are your main takeaways though from this game, and what needs to be corrected in order to come away with a W next week against Baltimore?
My main takeaway is this team can win gritty. We had seen it before, but not really on the road. This took a lot of guts, especially from the defense, to have to deal with making up for what was happening with the offense. It was the definition of bend don't break from that perspective, I think. And I would say the one thing that needs to be improved moving forward, which is something I've noticed, advanced stats will back it up, and a lot of people aren't going to like the take, but this team's going to live and die with Big Ben, and he has to be on. If this team wants to do anything, he has to be on. And I don't know if he's changed his throwing motion or something with the elbow surgery, but he throws the ball so low now. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, like where his release point is. And I think that's why they got him doing these quick routes and things. Like he tries to adjust to it. But clearly this week they were like, all right, well, let's see what you can do on the deep ball. And it's just not there. I don't think so, at least.
Yeah, I mean, the thing was before this week, I would have argued that on the deep ball, like it's not a matter of arm strength. It's just the accuracy. Like he's overthrowing guys, if anything. So it's maybe too much strength on it. But you mentioned the mechanics part of it. And his arm, yeah, the motion of it does look different. And you see a little bit of a sidearm action at times too. And you just wonder if that potentially, this new throwing motion is an issue. Why we're seeing so many more of these balls batted at the line of scrimmage. And I don't know that that's for certain. I'm just throwing that idea out there potentially just because we saw it a lot today. Jeffrey Simmons batting a couple balls, one of them turned into an interception. I don't know if his new throwing motion can be attributed to that, but it is. And, I mean, again, I agree with you. I think that the success of this offense is going to be on these short to intermediate routes, get the ball into the playmakers' hands and let them do it. You don't got to have the deep ball. I mean, if you want to bring it out every once in a while to dial up a play for Chase Claypool or something, that's fine. Keep it in your back pocket. But I don't think it needs to be the way that this offense pushes the ball down the football field.
Totally agree. I saw a tweet. I forget who it was from, but it was like, you pay him for these kind of drives, talking about the game-winning drive. And I don't know what his cap hit this year. I know it's something insane. But you're right. You just got to give it to the playmakers. He doesn't have to be that guy anymore. He's got the guys around him to make his life easy. He's got an amazing offensive line. He's got amazing receivers. And now he's got Eric Ebron running up the middle too, who can pretty much catch anything that you throw at him. So all he has to do, just play dink dunk. We watched Tom Brady do it for 20 years now, and it's worked just fine.
Yeah, you gotta be in the right system to do it, and I think that he is. When you talk about all the receivers that he has, all the weapons he has, James Conner out of the backfield has proven to be a viable pass catching option, and you mentioned the tight ends as well. I mean, last year Vance McDonald was completely erased from the equation pretty much after the Seattle game from the offense. We didn't see anything from him. But with Ben back, I mean, he's primarily a blocker, and he even said that himself. He doesn't care if he catches a single pass, but he can contribute a little bit more. We've seen that with Ben coming back, and really it's Eric Ebron, who's the dynamic tight end. What he gives you in blocking, he's not going to be a fantastic blocker, but at least the effort's there, and you like to see that. But He's a very good pass catching tight end. That's what he's here to do. Kind of line up as a mismatch in the slot as a big wide receiver, and he's done well in that role. So again, he doesn't, Ben doesn't need to be stretching the field, taking these deep shots. Get the ball into the hands of these playmakers and let them do the rest. To answer your question about the cap hit, they restructured it because now next year he's making $40 million. So this year he's making $25 million. Next year he'll make $40 million unless they do another extension. Then they can potentially lower his cap hit again next year by doing a restructure.
You have
which
to
I think we
imagine
could
that
see.
extension's inevitable. Yeah, exactly.
I think that we could see, another 1 year extension added to that just to lower next year's, because I think that they kind of have to. Is when you look at like the pending free agents that this team has, they're going to need some room to work with. So I think you'll see a 1 year extension at the minimum, and then them try to rework that number for next year.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, looking at the first half, I would have thought that we were just coming on here, celebrating, popping bottles,
Yep.
talking about how easy of a win it was, but it wasn't that way. I mean, we're kind of all sitting there on the edge of our seats at the end of this game, wondering if that field was going to be made. I told my dad he was going to miss it. He missed it. I told him he was going to miss that 51-yarder that he hit earlier in the game. So I guess I was just going to say he's going to miss it every time, but that's neither here nor there. He misses the field goal and the Steelers walk away 6-0. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But you just wonder, they kind of just squeaked by, and are they going to be able to do that against the Baltimore Ravens?
You have to, exactly. And that was another point I wanted to make was like, Spillane ain't going to cut it in the middle if you got Lamar Jackson. If he's supposed to be the spy that Devin Bush was, and that really affected Lamar that first matchup, is having that speed in the middle. You're not going to get that with Spillane. That is definitely something that I think he proved it today. He was solid at tackling. He finishes his tackles, but he's not a speed guy, and he's not going to be a coverage guy. And if that's what they want UG3 for, then I think you got to give UG3 the green dot, as Tomlin's been saying. I think you got to give him the start next week, because Lamar will eat them alive if given the opportunity, of course.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. Maybe you could answer this question. I'm not too sure without going back and looking. But was UG3 on the field a good portion of the game today? I feel like I saw him quite a bit. I'd have to go back and look at the snap counts to see.
Pretty much any 3rd and 5 and above, he was on the field. Like, they bring out the dime package, I think, because that was when Edmonds would come off and Sutton would come in and play. And then they also had UG3 come in and fill in the middle. So.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of what he expected or alluded to on our show. Was he said, he's not sure that he'll play much on first down or second down unless it's an obvious passing situation, but he could come in on those third downs, because obviously he's not Devin Bush. He knows that. But if you're looking for the guy that is the closest to replicating his skill set on the current roster, it's him in the middle linebacker room.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And I don't know. I mean, what even is their plan for Marcus Allen anymore? It kind of seems like he's pure special teams.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that he would mix in a little bit today, but I'm not sure he played a single defensive snap.
I don't think he did either. At least I didn't see him. If he was there, it was not for very long.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. But getting back to your point, when you talked about the strengths of the Baltimore Ravens, I don't know. I mean, they're going to have to watch the tape on it and make the decision. But it would not surprise me at all to see UG3 play more snaps next week than Spillane, just because game script might dictate it.
And, and that was, I mean, you got to imagine that they're looking at the trade market as well, right? They have to at least be doing their homework, even if they don't make a move. There's got to be. I mean, I didn't watch any of the Jets game today, but they had the Bills. They were holding them down for at least a little bit there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, too, I mean, we're not even sure what the condition of Robert Spillane is. He did come back into that game, but that shoulder is not going to be 100%.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was thinking separated shoulder, the way he was holding it, because he instantly started tapping it. Everyone was saying broken collarbone, but I was like, it's kind of like what you would do if you separated your shoulder. But I don't know. I hope he's all right. Obviously, we need the depth. And I think that's what was proven today as well, is like it takes everybody. You know?
I think that's the thing is obviously you can make the argument about just wanting to stay in-house. These guys know the system better than anybody. And it's kind of like the Steelers' way of going about it. If you're on the roster, they feel like you're capable. But at the same time, I mean, if you're talking about flipping a team like a 2022 fifth or something for a guy that is a starting caliber guy, Avery Williamson's the guy that's been mentioned a lot. In the trade scenario that somebody threw out there was for a 2022 fifth. I'm like, I mean, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, literally. I mean, that's our future punter you're talking about, that 2022 fifth. So,
yeah, remember when we drafted a long snapper in the 6th round, Colin Holba, that didn't even make the roster?
Is he even on an NFL team right now?
No.
I know he was on the Saints practice squad for a year, but I didn't know if.
No, I don't believe so.
What a guy. What a name.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I mean, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. I mean, is there anything else that you can kind of look to as like you think needs cleaned up before going into this game against the Ravens?
Yeah, it's another kind of obscure one, but I've been looking a lot at punters and stuff, so it just made sense to also watch the long snapper. Canada is all over the map right now where his snaps end up. And if you watch the field goals, he was throwing them pretty high. Like I think Barry almost had to get off his knee for the one extra point. And this was, I don't know if you guys follow Penguins Jesus, but this is something he's been on
Yeah.
ever since they got him, is that he's not the best lawn snapper. And I'm not going to go that far, right? But it's something I've noticed, especially today. And then what was it last week when Colquitt had to save that one that just came rolling to him? So that's got to be cleaned up. That's, it happened to the Titans today. That was a really bad snap that almost cost them a lot. Could have been the game, honestly, if they would have kicked the field goal. But, hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah, it hasn't hurt them yet. But again, when you get down into we play the Ravens twice. We got a lot of tough games coming up. That could be the difference in the game, one of these bad snaps. So for sure, I'd probably have to go back and look at it. But hey, bring back Colin Holba.
Bring back Colin Holba, sign Marquette King, and get all those hashtags going.
Right. All right, man. Was there anything else?
Oh no, man. I think I feel pretty good about this team overall. If they beat the Ravens, I don't know who's going to beat this team. If it's going to be tough.
Right. Yeah. I
Tough
said,
game to
these
look forward
these next two games, I was like, man, if they split, I'm going to have a hard time being upset about it. And they've at least done that. Now, I don't want them to go out and lose to the Ravens, but I'm saying
absolutely not.
It's going to be hard to be too upset with it should they split between Tennessee and Baltimore, especially when you think about the fact that we do get Baltimore at home later in the season.
I already said on our show like 3 weeks ago that we're sweeping Baltimore, so I don't know why you're worried.
True. That's true. Yeah, that was a hot take that we put out there.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see the betting lines as well for that game. See who they have winning and whatever the coverage is, the over/under.
I think it will probably shift around. I could see that moving quite a bit from tomorrow to game day, just because the Ravens are going to be coming off a bye.
I'm going to guess the opening line will be Ravens -2.5.
I was thinking 3.5.
Yeah, you got to think they give 3 points to the home team automatically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
usually.
So I'm thinking like if the Steelers look like they're the better team, at least right now on paper, if you get 3 points at home, make it -2.5 to be like, we think the Steelers could win, but the Ravens are still a home team.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And this is going to be their first game with fans too, right? I mean, I don't know how many it is.
Oh, man.
Is it? I didn't know that. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, they announced that one, I think, either yesterday or the day before. And it's like, oh, good timing on choice of game. So it's another factor.
Yeah, it is. But
No one said it would be easy, though. Exactly. No one said it would be easy. I'm just hoping, keep the train rolling. Everybody stay on it and everyone stay healthy.
If I have to go through like an entire bottle of my heart medication for them to pull out a 3-point victory against the Ravens, I'll take that. I don't care how ugly it looks. I don't care if we had a 20-point lead in the game at one point. As long as we get the W next week, I'll be satisfied.
I couldn't agree more. Hopefully the TV survives, though. That's
right. Oh my God, I don't even want to talk about that. CBS really dropped the ball today.
Dude, I thought the girl from The Ring was going to come out of my TV for a second.
It was just like, why would you cut the commercial? Like, just go to the guys in the booth and let them talk. Like, why wouldn't you? Cutting the commercial is probably the worst possible thing they could have done in that scenario, and that's what they chose to do.
Mm-hmm. And then they come back in the studio, and Bill Cowher is just like talking about the game.
Yeah, that's all they had to do.
While I'm watching the clock run down from like 4.5 minutes.
As they're just like ripping on the Steelers, they're like, yeah, they let them get back in this game, and they have no one else to blame but themselves if they end up losing. It's like, well, what's happening? Did they give the ball back or something? Why are you talking like that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Shane, we got somebody else that we got in the waiting room, so we're gonna get to them. But we appreciate you joining. We appreciate all the support for Around the 412.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
We've started, but
thank you.
Thanks for coming on, and maybe we'll get you back in here next week.
Sounds good. Go Steelers.
Yep. All right, man. Take care.
And we are.
No. Cut that out.
Go Cougs.
Okay.
Get that "we are" crap out of here. OH.
What's going on,
man?
It's me.
What up, man?
What's going on, Tyler? Hey, you already know I got the Poopa Cow on, man. Things only second week in a row. Hey, first of all, big birthday weekend for me. I hate talking about myself, but Khabib won yesterday, so he's 29-0. Happy retirement to him. Steelers are 6-0. I turned 26 this Tuesday, so I'm on cloud 9 right now, man. Woo!
All right, well, we got to wish you a happy early birthday, man.
I appreciate it. But I'll tell you what, like I said, I'm about to be 26. I don't know what the medicine is for like heart or like high blood pressure, but
I'm on 2 different types of blood pressure medication. I can refer you to some.
Bro, I'm like dying watching these games.
Hydrochlorothiazide. That's what I'm on.
Heck yeah. 2 doses before game time, right?
Yep. Got to.
Oh my God, man.
All right, man. But yeah, you mentioned you were on here last week. We got to 5-0. Now you're on here this week. We got to 6-0. What are your thoughts about this game? Just, big picture.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to remember and cherish the first half that we played, and I'm going to forget about the second half. 100%.
That's a good way to look at it.
I look at the whole game in its entirety, and like every little thing you do matters. So before halftime, where the Titans botched their little punt or whatever, and that was ruined, we had an opportunity to go in. We didn't need 6 there. We could have gotten the field goal, gotten some momentum, and kept that train rolling. The interception, it didn't, like, at the time, it didn't look bad, but looking back, it's kind of like, those are 3 points, that, and who's to say that, Chris could have or could have not made that, but those are 3 points that could have been crucial moving down the stretch. I'll tell you right now, I'm impressed. I know the game was close, but I'm impressed with that defense. I actually tweeted the stat line for Derrick Henry. He rushed the ball for 20 yards, only got, I think, 70, 75 yards, something like that.
Right, yeah.
His yards per carry. His yards per carry was 3.8. James Conner's yard per carry was 4.1. He had 20 carries. Same amount of carries, I think like 84 yards, something like that. So, hey, defense did a great job. Robert Spillane did an amazing job stepping up for Devin Bush, stopping him. That hit that he had, incredible. And it was ruined by Minka Fitzpatrick's holding call. But other than that.
Yeah, Smitty, nice jersey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I said I think he had his worst game as a Steeler today pretty convincingly. But if that's his worst game, I mean, we still came out with a W, so you got to take it.
Absolutely. That was Minka's worst game. That was arguably Ben's worst game of the season, and we still came out and won. We beat a 5-0 Titans team with arguably 2 of our top players playing their worst game. So, I mean, I'll take it. I have the utmost confidence in this team going next week into Baltimore. I know
you kind of answered another question I was going to have, but just to take a step back real quick. I mean, if you told me that we were going to beat the Titans this week, I wouldn't have cared how they got it done. What matters at the end of the day is they got it done. Now, obviously there's some concerns. There's still things to clean up. When you talk about a 6-0 team going into Baltimore next weekend, Baltimore coming off of a bye, but the recipe for success is largely going to look the same. You shut down that run, make Lamar Jackson become a pocket passer in this game.
Absolutely.
And you got to like the Steelers' chances.
Absolutely. And, the same thing with if we can do what we did to the Titans, to the Ravens and go up 27-7. I mean, I'm from Baltimore. I've seen a lot of Ravens games. Lamar Jackson does not play well from behind. Like you said, making him a pocket passer. They don't have an A.J. Brown on their team. So, they don't have a Derrick Henry who can run the rock. Like, Mark Ingram's good. J.K. Dobbins, he's doing his thing, but they do not have, a Henry. Even Ryan Tannehill, a lot of people are thinking of Ryan Tannehill as like this guy's Dolphins backup, blah, blah, blah. He's put up numbers this year. The Titans aren't 5-0 for no reason. So
yeah, I mean, even going back to last year, like his 16 games now stretch after today. His 16-game stretch, you can put it up against, Pat Mahomes, against the best players in this league, and he stacks right up there with them. I think his biggest deficiency has been, third down and longer than 5. They really have trouble converting. But he feeds off that play action. It's tough because teams key in on Derrick Henry. But yeah, Ryan Tannehill has been perfect in that system for Tennessee. And I don't have any more questions about them than I did coming into this game. I think it was just a good team playing a good team, and one of those teams had to win.
Absolutely, I agree.
So looking ahead to this game against Baltimore, though, a little bit, what did you see today, if anything, that you would like to see cleaned up, if you will?
Our second half defense. Our second half defense has to get cleaned up. Like I said earlier, the Ravens, I don't believe they have an AJ Brown. They do have a lot of solid wide receivers. Another one of my biggest concerns is, yes, Robert Spillane, he's amazing in the run game. I remember talking to Shane a couple minutes ago about, the pass, the third down and who was UG3 in, what happened to Marcus Allen, all that good stuff. UG3, Marcus Allen, one of those guys are going to have to step up and be that spy for Lamar Jackson next week. Also, Spillane is good in the run, but how's that going to hold up when he's got to cover Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson's, number one target,
Yeah, I brought up, we actually had a friend bring up the idea, like, Sean Davis has not been part of this defense, like, at all. Maybe using him as, like a third safety on the field almost, and only use like Vince Williams as a linebacker, but bring him onto the field in like obvious pass situations. I threw out the idea of using like Terrell Edmonds kind of in that role and using Cam Sutton. Now this would be assuming Mike Hilton were able to play next week. Mike Hilton goes back into that slot corner role, and then you use Cam Sutton kind of in that safety position that we see Terrell Edmonds play in.
And you could put Terrell Edmonds in the back box and have him spy. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that makes sense. And before you even mentioned, I completely forgot that Sean was on the team. Completely forgot. Haven't seen him at all.
He hasn't played a snap on defense. Yeah, he's just strictly a special teams guy, which is fine. I like him in that role. I didn't mind them bringing him back. It's depth for a guy that knows the system.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we haven't had to see him, and that's not a bad thing. It's one that just means one guy that isn't hurt. So
exactly, absolutely. That's why it's kind of like, oh, Rob's playing. How's this guy gonna play? But Sean Davis. But yeah, I mean that's my biggest concerns, honestly. I watch Lamar Jackson. I watch a lot of the Ravens games just because you gotta stay close to your rivals. And I mean, he's even on my fantasy team, and I'll tell you right now, he's not putting up great numbers, but you can't sleep on Lamar Jackson. You still cannot sleep. You still have to prepare. You still have to have that spy, all that. So.
Yeah, I mean, he was due for regression off last year. Like there was no way he was going to put up last year's numbers 2 years in a row. But I think that, in the Ravens, they only have one loss, and it was to the defending Super Bowl champions and the Chiefs. So they're a very good football team too. It's not like the numbers, the decrease in numbers. It's just because most of their opponents, they're scoring so many points early, blowing them out, and he hasn't really been a huge factor in it. And then they're not throwing the ball in the second half because they're just running the ball, winding down the clock and getting out of there with a convincing win. So yeah, I mean, his fantasy numbers are definitely down. His overall numbers are down a little bit. They even talked about, trying to make him become more of a pocket passer, not run as much. And I said, I kind of did it because the longevity thing, you question, he takes one big hit, who knows what could happen, but he is very smart when he runs. He doesn't play the same way as like we saw RG3, where it's kind of reckless when he's running the football. I think if you try to make him too much of a pocket passer and get away from what made him successful last year, you're just, stripping him of what makes him so special. So, I mean, hey, do it because we don't want you to be successful. But I'm just saying from a Baltimore Ravens perspective, I feel like they're kind of taking away what Lamar Jackson does best if you try to turn him into the player that this year it looks like they're trying to.
Right.
Yeah, and hopefully we see the first half Steelers against the Ravens because, like you said, their only loss was to the Kansas City Chiefs. And like Kai alluded to earlier, that they are not good from playing from behind. So if you get up early on them, they're not built to come back in games. They're built to lead early, but the way they operate their offense, they just don't really have a way to come back.
They're a run-first team. They're a run-first team, and they rely heavy on that. So as soon as they get down, it's kind of like that. It's almost – I don't want to say it's almost like the Titans, but the Titans too, they rely on Derrick Henry to set up that run, and that sets up Ryan's play action later down the stretch. But I mean, if we stop the run, that's it. I don't see, they, like I said, they don't have an AJ Brown. I'm not too worried.
Yeah, you wonder, put the Ravens in the same situation today. Like say next week, the Steelers pretty much start out the exact same way in the first half. I don't know that the Ravens are built like the Tennessee Titans, where they could have come back and made this a ball game.
I agree.
Yeah, same. I definitely agree.
If you make Lamar sit in the pocket, then I just don't see a way that the Ravens win the game. That's just not how they're built.
I mean, you even have to look at the first game we played last week when we had our carousel of quarterbacks. We have Doug, we had Mason, and we put up a fight last year against the Ravens. He turned the ball over 3 times. Freaking TJ Watt was in his face all the time. I think we sacked him 4 or 5 times, and that was with our backup quarterback. So now I just look at our team right who we are as the 6-0 Steelers. I have all the confidence in the world in this team going forward to the Ravens. I'm not scared of the Ravens like everybody was last year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Shane really in the YouTube chat just kind of circled the one thing I would be looking at as far as their passing game goes, because it goes through Mark Andrews, who kind of broke onto the scene last year. He's their primary option in the passing game. You know, people talk about Hollywood Brown and everything like that, but still, the rapport that Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews put together last year, that's their number one option in the passing game, and especially when they get down in the red zone, he's going to be the guy. And when you talk about like that's where you'd really love to have Devin Bush, so. How are we going to key in on stopping a guy like Mark Andrews in the middle of the field on those short to intermediate routes? That is going to be, I think, the heavy emphasis for this defense in this week of preparation.
And that, that's another good thing is who's gonna be the guy that steps up and stops him. Because if you stop Mark Andrews, I got faith that, you got Joe Hayden on one side. Hopefully we'll have Mike Hilton back. And then we have, Nelson on the other side. Andrews is it, but who's is it going to be Sean Davis like we talked about before? Is it going to be Minka who's going to try to, step up and play him? Or is it going to be, UG3? Or are they just going to let Spillane, try to do his thing? That's the only thing I'm worried about.
I think that the only thing is, the only decision that's going to be made is, will it be a heavier dose of UG3 than we saw this week, or will it still be primarily Robert Spillane? And again, a lot of that could come down to how's Robert Spillane's shoulder going to be feeling.
Absolutely.
But, should he be 100%? I think that's really the decision that you're going to have to make is between those two, who sees more snaps at middle linebacker and who's going to be in charge mainly of covering a guy like Mark Andrews. Terrell Edmonds maybe as well will chip in that role. I would say let's get a look at Marcus Allen, but he hasn't been on the field at all. So
right, yeah, limited snaps, absolutely. Flipping the script though, flipping the sides. What do we think about our offense against the Ravens defense? They just traded for I can't even pronounce his name, but
Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah, so they just picked him up. So their D line, their D line is pretty stacked. They got their first round pick, Patrick Queen, and of course they have arguably one of the better secondaries in the NFL. So.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup. Again, when you just talk about the depth of the Steelers receiving core, who do the Ravens want to eliminate? Because then it's going to be the other guys that have really good days.
Absolutely.
And I also, it's going to be interesting to see how we're able to run the ball because you got to establish that a little bit. And
Absolutely.
You mentioned James Conner, his yards per carry, it's up there. I think it's like third or fourth in the NFL. It's really going to be a question, again, strength versus strength. The defensive line definitely got better with the addition of Yannick Ngakoue. The offensive line for the Steelers has been pretty good, especially, in terms of run blocking. In terms of pass protection, we haven't had to see them hold up a whole lot just because for most of the season, before today at least, Ben's been getting the ball out of his hands so quick that they haven't had to protect for a long time. So, yeah, it's going to be strength for strength. I have a ton of respect for Baltimore's defense. I look at, especially the addition of Patrick Queen. That was huge for them. I'm so mad that the team's let him fall
absolutely,
to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But because really, when the Packers traded up, I thought it was for him, not Jordan Love. And I assumed that they were going to take him. I was like, sweet, because otherwise he's fallen to the Ravens, and we saw how that played out. I think that the one thing that I look at is the safeties. And also maybe the other middle linebacker spot that's not Patrick Queen. And I think that's probably where you're going to have to attack the field. And it's going to come down to, how well can we run these short intermediate routes. I don't think that you're going to have much success testing them with a deep ball. I think that could look similar to the way that it looked today. If you try to do that,
which I'm completely fine with. I'm completely fine with.
Right.
When he throws that deep ball, it's kind of like, oh man, why would you throw that? When he throws like all these screen passes every other play, it's like that's not working. But if you looked at the first drive, what made us so successful is the short intermediate passes. Those short routes were very successful. Let the wide receivers do the work. DJ was getting the ball in and out of his cuts, and he was getting up the field, getting the first downs. Intermediate, you don't have to take the deep shots all the time. The screens, I don't believe screens really work, especially in our offense. Those short intermediate routes are what was key.
Also, yeah, I think that the addition of Matt Canada, the heaviest influence we've seen is this motion and then these crossing routes, and we were running it to perfection. And I think that they need to get back to that, and I think that they will. I think when they go back and watch the tape from this game, they're going to it's clear as day to us. It's obviously to be clear as day to them what happened from the first half to the second half, and you just hope that they make the necessary adjustments and say, let's just get back to the basics, what was working for us, why we came into this game 5-0. And these short to intermediate crossing routes, the pre-snap motion, those are the things that are going to make this offense successful moving forward. Not taking these deep shots. Again, leave it in your back pocket for when you want to throw out these 50-yard bombs to Chase Claypool, once every week or something, once every other week, whenever you want to do it. But don't make it, what this offense goes through.
Right, absolutely. So again, like you said earlier, I noticed a lot today that the Titans' best cover corner was on Mapletron today. So they completely shut him down. He had one catch for, I think, a -2 yards and that little fumble blip, whatever that was. Freaking, Deontay Johnson, fresh off an injury, goes off 2 touchdowns, puts up points, my fantasy team. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? And it's like, Juju Smith-Schuster is even getting some money. So you have to, I look at, the Steelers wide receiver core, and I just think, like, you can't stop everybody. If you look at all of our games, every single week, somebody different has gotten money. And I just look at the Ravens. Yeah, they have 2 top corners, but it's like we have top 4 wide receivers. So who's it going to be? Is it going to be Washington next week? Because he was quiet this week. I did not expect that at all. Especially with Juju and Chase.
Yeah, I mean, it's about, the Steelers letting the defense decide who they want to eliminate. The Steelers, other than that one drive where, again, we talked about earlier, like Ben seemed like he was keying in on Juju and then tries to get him a touchdown reception, throws that interception in the end zone on our last offensive drive. Other than that, it's just been whoever's open. If Malcolm Butler's going to be the guy traveling around with Chase Claypool and they're going to put 2 guys on him, it's going to be the other guys that have huge days. And I wouldn't change that next week. Let the Ravens decide who they want to eliminate from this game. Let that receiver do their job and keep him out of the equation. And whoever the other guys are, let them be the ones that help you move the sticks. And don't force the football down the field. The short to intermediate stuff, it's going to work. You have too many weapons on offense for it not to.
I agree. Also, I'm not too worried about, Ben throwing 3 interceptions, because I was going to ask you how you feel about, him.
They were fluky. I mean, the thing is, it's not like that Jacksonville game where he threw 5 picks. I mean, we're talking about a Hail Mary to end the first half, one that was tipped up in the air, and then the other one where, actually got to Juju's hands. He shouldn't have thrown it in the triple coverage, but it actually did get to Juju's hands. And again, it's just kind of an unfortunate bounce.
Can you blame Ben for making that throw, though? Because, Juju's your guy, and you trust him. He's made those catches before. So, and it's,
right.
Again,
and you're going for the kill shot. You score a touchdown there, the football game's over right then and there.
But I don't know. I watched the replay. I don't know if you saw. I think he had Ebron and McDonald wide open down the seam. And they would have for sure, because I think it was 3rd and 12 in that play, 3rd and 11 to 3rd and 12, and they would have for sure gotten first down. So
no, I didn't, because at that point I had this towel right here, and my face was like this. So I didn't see what else was going on in that play besides when the interception occurred.
Yeah. That was huge. But yeah, you had 2 little guys right down there in the seam that were like flailing their hands. And I'm just like, no, Ben, no. But I mean, it's been so long. You live and die with Ben. So, he makes that touchdown pass. We love him. He throws an interception. I need that heart medication, and we still love him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And again, that kind of just goes back to, it's just kind of different from what we've seen this year. Came into this game with 1 interception. And kind of like a vintage game where he's just taking more shots when you feel like that's not why they're 5-0. They're 5-0 because he's gotten away from that.
He's been throwing 1 to 2 touchdown passes a game, and we've been winning. So there was definitely no need to get away from that. But right. Hey, we still won 6-0 on to Baltimore, enough said.
No, yeah, I think that the biggest thing to monitor is, this week is going to be, one, Baltimore's going to be healthy. They're coming off the bye. Again, their new addition's going to be able to play in this game. You hope that Deontay, he did come back in and play. He looked fine, but he obviously did a little something there when he got that first down, was holding his knee or calf or whatever.
I read, I think he bruised his ankle or something. Something happened to his ankle. He twisted his ankle or something, but he said he's going to be okay. So
you have that, obviously the Robert Spillane shoulder thing, and then you hope that Mike Hilton can come back. At this point, I mean, one last thing that I want to bring up on here, and then I'll, if there's anything else that you wanted to speak on. I think to this point, like the Derek Watt signing, not looking great right now.
No, absolutely not. And you really have to, in hindsight, you have to look, was that like a, what's it called, like a fan favorite signing or something like that? Because yes, obviously we do utilize our fullbacks, but do we sign him because he's a good football player, or do we sign him because he's a Watt brother? I think
Yeah, I mean, right now, even in the games that he's played, his impact has been on special teams. He's playing like an average of 5 snaps on offense. They're just not using him, and you're paying him $3.5 million to play special teams. I
Yeah,
mean, I was fine with Tyler Matakevich walking for what Buffalo gave him, and I was like, okay, Derek Watt's going to come in here and kind of take over that role, but he's also going to be a really good fullback. In the past, our running game has run best behind a fullback. We
absolutely.
had like the good Rosie Nix years. Last year, we didn't have a fullback, and it looked, obviously the offense as a whole struggled. But if we would have had one, maybe the running game would have had a little bit more success. So I was really excited about getting, a top tier fullback, but they're not using him. So what's the
Absolutely.
point?
I think he was out with the injury, so that's another thing to take into consideration.
Well, yeah,
But
no. Yeah, he has been.
I completely agree. I mean, and even with us not using him, James Conner's still getting his work in. So I look at that and I'm just like, that's crazy. Imagine if now that's what you got without a fullback. Throw the fullback into the equation. I watched him with the Chargers because I was like, man, this dude's good. He's a Watt brother, blah blah blah. He's good. I've seen his highlights. He's good. Again, I don't understand why they're not using him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if that changes. Maybe he really hasn't been healthy at all because, I mean, hamstrings are tricky. So maybe it's something that even before they actually like put him on IR with, he was dealing with and just tried to play through it. But if that's the case, I mean, you see that we're not really like, struggling without him. He's not an integral part of anything that we're
Right.
doing. Just let
Absolutely.
him get healthy and see if, he does make an impact in the playoff run because
Yeah.
obviously sitting at 6-0, there's going to be a playoff run in Pittsburgh. So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
okay. Well, anything else you want to touch on?
Oh no, man! I'll let you get to your next guy. I know, you're busy, all that good stuff. So I just appreciate you for having me on the show, man.
Yeah, of course. We want to thank you for joining. But again, mention next week versus the Ravens. We will be doing probably most likely again. It's going to be kind of up in the air depending on where schedules are. Another post game show, so be on the lookout for that. Maybe Kai will be one of the ones that join us. But
Absolutely. You
until
already
next
know.
week, thanks for joining. We'll
All right,
talk to you
appreciate
then.
it, guys.
See you, man.
All right. Yep. Okay. Well, Tyler, I know that you're tired. I actually didn't even have another person to reach out and was just going to keep it.
You know that I'm tired because I'm typing it in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw you say about taking a nap, but I think that we've pretty much covered.
Well, no,
everything.
Ryan just commented on me yawning the whole time. I didn't get home till like 3:30 in the morning yesterday, so that's why. Then I woke up at 9. I don't know.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, again, kind of a game where you felt like you didn't have to be on the edge of the seat, but the Steelers still put you on the edge of your seat. We've seen a lot of those over the years. It's nothing new to us, but at the end of the day, they come away with a W to go to 6-0, and we have a meeting next week with the Baltimore Ravens, who they themselves only have one loss to last year's Super Bowl champions. So another 5-star matchup for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
They're about to have 2 losses because we are winning. I'm not accepting anything else. I already said that they're sweeping them. I'm not going back on that whatsoever. And when the Steelers win, they will be 7-0, and that will be the second time in franchise history that they will start 7-0, which ties their best opening season record at 7-0 with the 1978 Steelers. So say the Steelers go 8-0, they will set a new franchise record.
And I don't want to look past Baltimore, but the following game would be against Dallas, who, I mean, for lack of a better word, they blow.
They suck. Yeah, they're terrible.
I mean,
that's
prayers up to
literally
Andy Dalton. Former Steeler John Bostic should absolutely be suspended for that. Terrible hit, completely uncalled for, reckless. And Andy Dalton is he was carted off with a concussion. So that's how you know it's bad. We've seen that happen with Luke Kuechly in the past, and he missed the rest of that year when that happened. So it does not look good for Andy Dalton. I don't know if the Cowboys will look to acquire a quarterback because they're still going to be right in the thick of things in the NFC East. They can still win that division. So we'll see what they decide to do, or if they roll with Ben DiNucci, local guy.
Is that who came in?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. 2 of 3 for 39 yards.
Hey, 2 of 3.
Yeah.
Hold the phone. I might have something.
He was sacked 3 times.
Never mind. He was sacked as many times as he threw the ball.
But he had a passer rating of 109.7.
But again, I don't want to look
passes.
past the Ravens, but you look at that Cowboys team. I mean,
they suck. They suck. I mean, there's no other way to do it. Did you see the pitch to Zeke and Zeke just missed it? What's wrong with him? Is it just a little bit of the team
he's got the
flowing
yips.
into him? Yeah, it's just I don't get it. But
it's a bad situation right now in Dallas, and that just shows you how important Dak is to that franchise.
Exactly. Pay the man. Don't let the injury cause.
But hey, we're only 2
anything to
wins
change.
away from Mike Tomlin reaching 8 wins again.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think we have to worry about him breaking his losing streak record.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it happens in that game against Dallas.
Yeah, I hope so too. But yeah, we're gonna win this week. I'm very confident in that. Do you think that this game will be flexed into Sunday Night Football? Because this week everybody wanted it to be, but it wasn't. And CBS locked the game. Could they lock the Steelers game next week, or do you think that NBC will try to flex it in?
So I think that they can only flex 2 games from weeks 5 to 11. This is probably one that they should look at, but I also think in most cases they have to have a 12-day notice. Now this year might be a little bit different. Obviously we saw, a flex situation happen for this week, but that was mainly due to some COVID issues with the Raiders. So I'm not sure.
Well,
I honestly, I'll go on record right now saying I would not care if it stays at 1:00. I'm because then
I said that too. I don't mind
if they play Sunday night. I can tell you we're probably not going to be doing a post game show.
Yeah, I won't be doing it. I'll tell you right now, I will not be. But Smitty might drop on. I won't. But only reason I'm saying that they could flex it is not only just because it's Steelers Ravens. It will be 5-1 versus 6-0, but the Sunday night game. Do you know who it is next week?
Obviously, it's a bad game, right?
It is the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. So, yeah, sure. For a rivalry, that's a good game.
I mean, I guess it's for first place, right?
For actual football play, I mean, who knows? Maybe it will be a good game because both teams suck. But, yeah, I mean, that seems like a game that would be flexed out.
Yeah. One last thing, too. Shane just mentioned we didn't talk about Ray Mccloud at all.
What a return.
Yeah, I mean, I was saving. I want to talk about him quite a bit on our Steelers show this week. But yeah, we finally have a return man. I don't know the last time you could say that we actually had like a legit returner. With any
Ryan
consistency,
Switzer wasn't legit.
Because we've been trying to find a returner to actually like take that off of Antonio Brown. That really never happened. It always ended up being him. Deontay Johnson, we threw back there. He made second team All-Pro as a returner, but like, did he really ever look that great? I mean, he returned that touchdown against Arizona, but I think he primarily won that got that All-Pro recognition because of that one return. Ray is legit on both kickoffs and punts, and he should have scored a touchdown today. I think that he didn't know what was on the right side of the field. His only blocker downfield, James Pierre, was on the right side, yet he ran to the left where the 2 guys for the other team were.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know what he saw. What his
maybe he just lost his vision. I mean, yeah. I've never been in that scenario. Obviously, look at me. So I don't know what it's like to be running like that and like what you see, but still, I mean, he averaged between his 3 punt returns, he averaged 27.7, which I mean, that long one was definitely boosted the average up. Right. That was a long of 57, but I mean, still between the other 2, 83 minus 57, that's still 26 yards on 2 other returns. I'll take that.
Yeah, so we hope that next week's Sunday Night Football game definitely gets moved, even if it's not in favor of the Steelers game. They got to do something with that because I'm not watching that on Sunday Night Football. Walker, thank you for the kind words. We greatly appreciate that. If you are not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I assume that you found us from Twitter, so thanks for following along. Thanks for the support. We do this. It's going to be at least every 1:00 game. I don't know what's going to be going on. If it's a 4:00 game or again, if it's a Sunday Night Football game, it would get interesting, but just follow us on Twitter. We'll keep you guys up to date with what's going on. We enjoy you guys coming in here and talking with us. So as of right now, I assume that we'll be back next week, but if something happens where it could flex to Sunday Night Football, not sure if that would be the case. So just follow us and you'll stay up to date with everything. Other than that, Tyler, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right. Make sure you go get your mid Sunday nap in before Sunday Night Football, because tonight it's actually a good game. So
yeah, for sure. I'm going to be watching that one.
But other than that, guys, thanks for tuning in. It's been Smitty. It's been Tyler. This has been the Around the 412 Steelers postgame show, sponsored by Manscaped and Keats Barbershop. We are part of Crowworthy and all Steelers.